Hey, just thought I'd preface the video saying that I won't be discussing any of the Dragon Rising Season 2 leaks, just in case anybody was like worried. Also, this video isn't for kids. I know I'm talking about Legos, but this is very much a video for the older side of the fandom. This disclaimer, I've been wondering if I should put it for a little while now, and now that I'm talking about shows like Hello Boss, I feel like I do. So yeah, alright. That's all. Just wanted to get both disclaimers out there. You know, for a show about found family, they sure don't give the actual siblings enough attention. At the very start of Ninjago, it's made blatantly clear that Kai and Nya care deeply for each other. After all, they were all they had for a long time. Their connection is what brought Kai to the ninja in the first place. So, why does their familial relationship feel so hollow at times? Why does it feel like they're almost never paired up together? How did they lose such a good connection between these two? Okay, obviously they care for each other and have their moments, but as the show went on, those moments started to dwindle away, and it's kind of frustrating for those who genuinely enjoy their dynamic. So let's talk about their dynamic throughout the seasons, how I'd personally make some edits, and why it seems to have taken such a nosedive. So I personally believe we start out pretty strong with the two of them. In the pilots, Nya gets captured by the Skulkin, Kai becomes a ninja and won't stop being a jerk to the others until they save her. He's a little mean, which is kind of normal for siblings, so I appreciate that addition. He's a little too mean at times in Season 1, but he still very clearly cares for her and trusts her to take care of herself. He even drops a bet that meant a lot to him at the time, might I add, just to keep her identity as Samurai X a secret. Alongside this, Nya and Kai get paired up quite a bit for his True Potential episode. Nya acting as Kai's voice of reason that he very clearly ignores on multiple occasions. We also see her show more emotion over Kai's fake-out death than a certain someone does in Season 6. They clearly have a bond. This kind of dwindled out a bit in the first half of Season 2, but in all fairness, Nya was barely there in the first place, so I can't really get upset about it. But when she is there, it's still not as good as Season 1, but it's still better than a lot of the other seasons. Nya gives him a mech she made, which I think is really cute, and I'm glad it comes back later in Season 5. And Kai gets frustrated over not being able to go back and save Nya after she's been kidnapped by the Stone Army, but not as frustrated as Jay, who was the only person Nya called out to while she was being taken away. And I feel like that's foreshadowing for some events to come, but we don't need to talk about that right now. Anyways, Kai does have a pretty big reaction to Nya's corruption by Garmadon's hands. He's the one to hold her off during the final battle, and he and Jay have a little moment with her after her purification. All in all, a pretty good dynamic. Let's talk about the next chunk of Ninjago episodes. I know, Season 3 to 7 is like a big chunk to clump together, but this is just how my brain, arranges the Ninjago seasons. I do them in eras, if that makes sense. Anyways, let's talk about Kai and Nya's new dynamic because it's definitely changed. To be frank, I don't really have a problem with how that dynamic is depicted and rebooted. They're both doing their own thing and that's chill. Except there's an episode where Kai's kidnapped and almost killed and Nya doesn't seem to be in much of a rush to save him. Sure, they didn't know how much danger he had been at the time. By the way, he was strapped under a rocket and was about to be, fried. But again, they didn't know that, but they did know that Pythor took him. You know, the guy who eats people? You're not going to go with the other ninja to save your brother? Obviously, the writers probably just didn't want to bring Nya to space since she was just a supporting character at the time. But really? At least she called out to Kai first while they were on the rocket and not Jay. Or Cole. Don't get me started on the Cole and Nya stuff again, that hurt me a little. Season 4 starts out a bit rocky for their dynamic too. Kai is very obviously not doing too well after Zane's death, but Nya makes no indication that she's worried for him. In fact, she's still too caught up in the stupid love triangle from last season to care. Just drop the plotline already, we already know she's going to end up with Jay. Were they in contact at all after Zane's death? Were they living with each other? If they are, then that kind of explains why she wouldn't be dwelling on the fact Kai is, in a underground fighting ring because it'd be her day to day, or she just wouldn't know because Kai's putting up a front. But she has no reaction to Kai going missing. If they're living together, I think she would notice that Kai disappeared in the middle of the night. Especially after Lloyd and Garmadon also disappeared. Wouldn't she think there's a connection? Probably, because she does go after them. But it's under the preface that she's only going for Lloyd and Garmadon. Save my family, Nya. Her brother's gone too. Where's her concern? Their dynamic is somewhat normal once Nya makes it to the island. Nya tries to figure out what Chen and Klaus are doing, but is spotted, and Chen sends everybody in the tournament after her. Kai is very understandably worried, and this tracks throughout the whole episode. Nya feels gently betrayed by Kai's betrayal, blah blah, normal Kai and Nya stuff. But one thing that gets me is that this season starts a little trend. It marks the first time Kai and Nya's parents are properly brought up since season 1. We get a little nod to them at the beginning of the season when the ninja learn they are descendants of elemental masters. Heck, we even get small glimpses of their time in the Serpentine War. And Kai learns that Nya might be an elemental master herself. But this isn't the last time their parents get mentioned this season. You see, throughout season 4, Kai starts a flirtationship with another competitor named Skylar, who turns out to be the daughter of Chen, aka the big bad of the season. She gets her dad to spare Kai and attempts to sway him onto their side. When offering Kai power doesn't work, Chen offers him dark secrets, quote-unquote, about his and Nya's parents. How he possibly knows they're working under Crocs and Acronics, I have no idea, but he also has, things he shouldn't have, like Zane's pink gi, so he has his ways, I guess. The point is, this quote-unquote dark secret isn't even brought up to Nya.
Hi, it's editing Mika. So, funny thing is, Kai does tell Nya about Chen's the little bit of information Chen teased him with. It's in between seasons, that's why I didn't remember it. And Nya makes a passive remark about it, but he did tell her. I'm keeping my rant in just because I've already edited everything. Well, not everything, but you know what I mean. I've edited too much to make edit changes, you know. Yeah, this is just gonna get thrown in. Hi, this is me. Sorry, I realize how weird it is that I'm just, down here. I didn't want to show my face right now, but I just wanted to... Yeah, okay, bye. I'll see you in the video.
Hell, Kai doesn't even tell her Garmadon hinted that she could be an elemental master. This plotline is just thrown out the window until season 5 and 7. There was a chance for Kai to bring it up too. He tried to get her in on his plan to go against Chen, but he just doesn't even use the information he was promised in the first place. I don't know, maybe he didn't want to lead her on in case Chen was lying, but this little inconsistency has haunted me for years. This isn't even the first time their parents get brought up, and then have it not affect the other in any way. Speaking of that, let's move on to season 5. While Lloyd is very clearly the mascot character of the season, which makes sense, his aesthetic does match up with the overall spooky aspects of it, we actually follow Kai and Nya a lot more. It's kind of like season 5 is their unofficial joint season. But just because they get a lot of focus doesn't mean they interact that much. While I love RGB sibling dynamics, they could have split Kai's focus a bit. Again, as I mentioned in a previous video, I love the parallels between Kai and Moro. Their fights and banter are my favorite bits of the season, but I feel like the focus on the dynamic came at the detriment of Kai and Nya's relationship. What do you mean Kai only gets 5 seconds to acknowledge Nya as the elemental master of water? And doesn't even react to the fact his mom was an elemental master? I get time restraints are a thing, but Leora Sayuk7342, I hope I pronounced that right, pointed out how interesting it would have been to have Kai help Nya learn how to master her powers. Of course she had Ronan there to help, for some reason, but Kai could have easily taken his place. On top of just being able to understand her and knowing how to address what's holding her back, this would have been a good opportunity to address his newfound fear of water. Maybe if they addressed his newfound fear of water here, it would have made the lead up to Kai jumping in to save Lloyd a lot more earned? Because it just feels like he does it after 2 episodes of him being scared of water. It being a consistent thing throughout the season would have helped a lot, I think. Just so much has been taken out from their dynamic this season in order to focus on Kai's dynamic with Lloyd. Again, I love the RGB sibling dynamic, and Kai being determined to save Lloyd was great. and somewhat replicates his desperation to save Nya and the pilots, but it really took away from Nya and Kai's dynamic. There's really not much to say when it comes to Season 6. Kai gets taken away pretty early in, and while Nya reacts to it, she doesn't dwell on his absence for that long. There is a scene where the main antagonist of the season takes Kai back in time to see their dad, but it's never really brought up again and doesn't affect Nya in any way. Are you seeing a trend here? A trend of parents get brought up to one of them, but the other doesn't get to react to it in any way? Kai's pretty worried for Nya once he's out of the sword, and he's constantly trying to calm Jay down, but when Nya dies towards the end of the season finale, he just stands there and covers his eyes. Like, yeah, he has a bigger reaction than most of the cast, but he's not even trying to sit beside her. He's just letting Jay cradle her and not even trying to get close. He had more of a reaction to Jay and Nya getting together. Are you telling me Mr. Short-Tempered and Protective just stands there? Before I move on to Season 7, there's a quote from Nya this season that I feel like I should address. While she and Jay head out in Dr. Julian's lighthouse, Nya states that she doesn't want to just be seen as Jay's girlfriend or Kai's sister. So does this video directly conflict with what she wants? Maybe. But you can't just have her say that and then only pair her with Jay in some of the recent seasons. So I'm just trying to even the playing field a little. We'll get to those seasons in a little bit. Anyways, not much to say about Day of the Departed special. They both went back to their blacksmith shop for weapons to remember their parents. Oh wow, an acknowledgement that they share parents. Crazy. Anyways, on to Season 7, aka our official Kai and Nya joint season. Except Lloyd kind of intrudes on their spotlight a bit, but I think he deserves it after they stole his spotlight in Season 5. This season provides us with some payoff on Kai and Nya's parents, or Ray and Maya, constantly being brought up. We're given backstory and told they disappeared when Nya was 3, and as the season goes on, they learn that there might be more to their disappearance than they may think. Sorry, did I say they? I meant Kai. Kai learns that their parents might be the bad guys. Nya has her own thing going on with the new Samurai X, and while the two of them work together for a good chunk of the season, Kai barely makes any effort to tell Nya about his discovery until the end of the season approaches. I would have loved to see them actually working together on this case since, you know, Ray and Maya are Nya's parents too, but I get it. They needed to introduce Pixel's iteration of Samurai X and have Nya officially move on from her original role, blah blah blah. Yeah, I get it. I just think Nya should have had a bigger reaction to her parents possibly being alive, since, like, yeah, she explains later on that she wasn't as interested in kickstarting a connection with her parents as Kai was, but don't you think this could have been explored, oh, I don't know, in the season about finding their parents? Maybe we could have reflected the Green Ninja episode where Nya acts as his voice of reason. Maybe she's trying to deter him from pursuing something she believes will be a dead end, to just go back to accepting their parents are gone. One kid is in denial, and the other is obsessing over their disappearance. Oh, maybe she could have used the Samurai X mystery as a distraction from their parents' situation. The stress of realizing her parents really might have just abandoned her building up, but she's trying to suppress it by dwelling on the new Samurai X, until she realizes she needs to let the new Samurai X do their own thing. And then it all comes crashing down once she has nothing else to distract her with. Maybe this is also what helps her prevent Kai from murdering Gray, because while she might also be mad at them for leaving, she wants answers, and they can't get answers if Ray and Maya are dead. I feel like there's a way to connect the Samurai X subplot to the parent subplot, but honestly, I came up with this, like, solution 5 seconds before I started recording. Like, I thought of it, I typed it down, and then I started recording. So, I don't know, if I find a different solution that, like, connects the two, I'll put them in the comments. Anyways, the good parts of the season, I really like that they have to combine the powers to work with each other a lot, and I especially really like the elemental dragon. I thought it was a fun concept. I wouldn't say there's too much to complain about within this era of episodes. The last season started a trend of Nya and Kai wearing matching gis, and it continues in season 8, which is so cute. Nya is genuinely torn up over the OG4 supposedly dying, but is especially torn up about Jay and Kai. She's the first to respond to Kai calling back to the others, but they don't have a proper reunion? Like, everybody is hugging and celebrating their return, and Kai got nothing? But, whatever, you know what? The internal relationships were more about the OG4 and Wu, and the Ponytail Squad and Lloyd. Anyways, March of the Oni arrives and Kai helps Jay propose to Nya. Kai and Nya have a little moment together while grieving Cole, and that's pretty much it. Again, not really complaining. They don't have to always interact with each other. Honestly, even with my qualms about the previous seasons, I think their dynamic was actually done well up to this point. Sure, I had a few issues with them, but overall they were fine. Why have I been so unsatisfied with their dynamic recently? Oh, yeah, right. The Wild Brain era was rough when it came to moments between Kai and Nya. She gets defensive of Kai while he's passed out after a sphere takes his powers, even snapping at Jay, which is a nice twist as it's usually the other way around where Nya snaps at Kai for insulting Jay. Reacts to Kai and Cole's death in Prime Empire, but Jay definitely has the bigger reaction. Again, I'm giving the show the benefit of the doubt. It is Jay's focus season, so I don't have much to complain about on that end, because of course he'd have more focus on his reaction. They share a fun interaction and a hug in Master of the Mountain after Nya's paired up with Jay throughout a good chunk of the season, and we also get one of my favorite screenshots of the two. But then, Seabound happened. Don't get me wrong, Seabound is definitely one of my favorite seasons, but the dynamic between Kai and Nya? Sure, they finally treat Ray and Maya as both of their parents for once, and yeah, the interactions between Ray and Kai and Maya and Nya were nice, but Kai and Nya? Basically nothing. The most that's shared between the two is Kai begging Nya to go to their mom for help before he promptly gets sidelined for most of the season. They can't even use a sphere of water as an excuse writing-wise because he went into the boiling sea. You'd think he'd be more present in a seemingly very important time in his sister's life. And then she doesn't even say goodbye to him before merging with the sea and forgetting everybody. It's ridiculous. Kai didn't have an outward reaction to her death right away, again, but I'm starting to wonder if that's just how he grieves. Suppress his emotions in the moment and then let them out when he's away from the other ninja. Ninjago redeems itself a little and crystallized. When she's recovering her memories, Nya remembers Kai first. We can see that Kai is genuinely in a bad place while grieving her. And then also almost tears the team apart by getting into a fight with Jay over her. But that's about it after. Nya's dealing with her own self-worth issues and Kai's on the run for most of the season, so there's nothing to their dynamic again. But what happened? How did we go from a good depiction of their relationship to an okay depiction to what we got in Wild Brain? We should talk about Jay. Just a quick recap. Jay is Nya's boyfriend, fiance, yang, whatever. Before that though, she was his love interest. I personally think that they handled the Jaya moments pretty well in the first era, for the most part, and balanced them out with her scenes with the rest of the ninja. They kind of lost the balance in the following season since they were trying to double down on her relationship drama, but it definitely doesn't get as bad as it does in the Wild Brain era. Suddenly, Nya's only getting paired with Jay, and only sharing her worries with him. And why didn't she say goodbye to Kai? Why did she only say goodbye to Jay? I feel like I need to preface that I don't hate Jaya. I actually think they're pretty cute together after their Rocky patch. But I feel like them becoming canon came at the detriment of their other relationships within the team. Hell, Jay isn't even treated as Cole's best friend anymore because he gets paired with Nya so often. So this writing decision very clearly isn't just affecting Nya and Kai's dynamic. They just feel isolated from the rest of the team sometimes. Like they still have their moments with everyone else, but it's strange. I hope they fix this at one point. There's more after this? So you'll never guess what Dragon Rising brought us. Not only are Kai and Nya on a small team together, but we're also getting RGB sibling interactions, and it's great, and they have proteges now? We're just getting some really good interactions between the three of them, and I'm glad the writers are finally leaning into Kai and Nya's dynamic again. They bicker, they care for each other, and they feel like siblings. And it arguably got better with season 2. Again, don't worry, I'm not going to talk about the leaks. But in the first half of season 2, the team is introduced to a new power-up called Rising Dragon. Kai unlocks Rising Dragon through a childhood memory of him and Nya, and Nya unlocks Rising Dragon through the same memory, but this time with the added trauma of Kai being banished to an alternate dimension literally like 5 seconds before. Oh, right, in case you didn't know, Kai was sent to Super Hell, but I guess that's kind of important, because Nya is very clearly grieving afterwards. Anyways, I recently had to sit down for this video and rewatch episodes, and I thought to myself, how did we go from practically no Kai and Nya scenes to non-stop RGB scenes? And do you know what I realized? Jay's been absent throughout most of Dragon's Rising. Of course, we all know where he is. He likes to pop up every now and again and proclaim he's an agent of Ninjago's version of the TVA. But he's still basically gone. And I think that works in favor of Kai and Nya. They get to just be siblings, and we don't have to deal with her prioritizing Jay over Kai for some reason. I do miss them though, don't get me wrong. I miss Cole and Zane too. They're in Dragon's Rising, but it also feels like they're not. That's my own qualms with the new seasons, don't worry about it. After making this video, I personally feel like Kai and Nya aren't as underutilized as I originally expected them to be. It's just the Wild Brain era skewed my and a lot of people's judgment a little bit. They're a fun duo, and I'm so glad Dragon's Rising is really exploring their dynamic more. Hopefully these points made sense. This kind of turned into more of a rant than this is how I change things type of video. But it was fun to yap about the two of them. Kai and Nya are my favorite characters in the show, and their bond means everything to me. I love them a lot. But how do you guys feel about their dynamic? Do you also feel like they're underutilized as a duo? Am I yapping about them too much? Feel free to talk about your own views on the two of them in the comments. And maybe like and subscribe while you're at it. I make art and commentary videos, so if either of those topics interest you, feel free to stick around. But I think that's all I have to say. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.